Josie got married against the family's wishes. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. For Duggar Family, latest news update. Please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. The news of Josie Duggar secretly getting married against her family's wishes spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of Arkansas before anyone in the Duggar household had time to process what had actually happened. The youngest daughter of Jim Bob and Michelle had always been seen as the quiet, gentle one. The miracle baby born prematurely at just 25 weeks. For years, she was protected, sheltered, and watched closely, almost too closely. Yet, the girl they thought would always follow their rules had just become the one who shattered the biggest rule of all, marrying without their approval. The tension began building long before the marriage itself. Josie had grown tired of living under the shadow of her family's strict expectations, especially after watching her older siblings struggle with public scandals, divorces, legal issues, and constant judgment from the world. She had seen so many broken expectations within the Duggar name that she started questioning whether the path laid out for her was truly her own. Still, no one imagined she would take a step as bold as marrying a man the family barely knew. The man at the center of the storm was Daniel Harper, a young EMT from Little Rock with no connection to the IBLP community, no interest in Gothard teachings, and absolutely no intention of asking Jim Bob for permission to court Josie. Their relationship began quietly, sparked during a volunteer event where Josie helped at a children's health fair. Daniel was assigned to the booth next to hers. Their first conversation lasted only a few minutes, but something about the way he treated her, like she was a real adult capable of making her own decisions, stayed with her long after the event ended. They exchanged numbers secretly. For months, Josie slipped away for errands, grocery runs, or study days just to spend a few minutes talking to Daniel in the Walmart parking lot or meeting at a quiet spot by the lake. She had never experienced anything like it, being listened to, laughed with, asked about her feelings, and treated like she mattered beyond her family name. Every moment with Daniel was a reminder of everything missing in her sheltered life. Michelle grew suspicious first, noticing that Josie had suddenly begun taking care of her hair differently, braiding, curling, and wearing lighter makeup. To Michelle, it was a sign that something had changed. To Josie, it was a sign she was uncovering her real identity. But Michelle wasn't prepared for how far the transformation would go. Things exploded one evening when Jessa overheard part of a phone call between Josie and Daniel. It wasn't explicit or romantic, but it was enough. The Duggar rule was clear: no private conversations with a man. Within hours, Jim Bob summoned Josie into his office, ready to interrogate her like he had done with all his children before her. But this time, Josie didn't tremble or cry. She just looked tired. Jim Bob demanded to know who Daniel was, what their status was, and why she had been hiding him. Josie didn't deny anything. Worse for Jim Bob, she didn't apologize. That night, family meeting was called. The siblings gathered around the dining table, some curious, some anxious, some already bracing for the next headline-making disaster. Josie sat there silent, waiting for the inevitable lecture. Instead, it turned into a shouting match between the older Duggar siblings who felt trapped by their upbringing and the ones who still defended their father's rules. Jill, already distanced from the family, called in via video chat after hearing about the chaos. She told Josie to follow your heart, not the rules that broke so many of us. Jinger sent a text telling Josie that she deserved a life built on freedom, not fear. Joanna, however, looked torn. She wanted to support Josie, but she also feared the consequences of going against Jim Bob. Michelle tried to soften the blow by insisting they only wanted to protect Josie. But Josie finally snapped, saying that protection felt more like a cage. It was the first time she had ever raised her voice to her parents. The room went silent, but the real shock came 2 weeks later. Without warning, Josie packed a small bag, left the Duggar home, and didn't answer anyone's calls. Michelle panicked. Jim Bob was furious. Some siblings were worried sick. Others quietly admired her courage, but didn't dare say it. Josie wasn't missing, though. She was with Daniel, safe, determined, and terrified. They stayed in a small rental apartment Daniel shared with a co-worker, where Josie slept on the couch and helped with laundry and cleaning while she figured out her next step. She knew marriage would cause the deepest cut, but she also knew the longer she stayed in limbo, the more control her parents would try to regain. After just 10 days, Josie made the decision. She and Daniel would get married, not in a big ceremony, not in a Duggar-approved venue, not with any of the traditions she had been raised with. Just a simple courthouse wedding. 2 rings, a judge, and a new beginning. Daniel bought her a modest dress from a thrift store, simple but elegant. Josie cried when she tried it on, not because of the dress, but because it was the first time she chose something completely on her own without needing permission. On the morning of the wedding, Josie wrote a short note for her parents. "I love you both, but I cannot live my life in fear anymore." By the time anyone found the note, Josie was already standing beside Daniel in front of the judge. They exchanged vows quietly. The moment Josie said, "I do," she felt the weight of years lift from her shoulders. It wasn't rebellion, it was liberation. But the story didn't end there. When news broke that Josie had married without parental blessing, the Duggar family group chat exploded. Some siblings cried. Some were angry. Some, like Jill and Jinger, celebrated privately, seeing Josie finally break free. Jim Bob, however, took it as a personal betrayal. He called the marriage invalid and insisted that any union performed without his blessing wasn't recognized within their faith. Michelle begged Josie to reconsider, too overwhelmed to accept that their youngest daughter had grown up in front of them without their noticing. Family, friends, and church leaders weighed in, some publicly condemning Josie's reckless decision, others defending her right as an adult. Social media caught fire. Fans who had watched Josie grow up on TV were shocked, supportive, or deeply judgmental. The story hit every gossip blog within 24 hours. Through all of it, Josie refused to hide. She returned to social media after years of silence, posting a simple picture, her hand wearing a wedding ring, held tightly by Daniel's. The caption was short, "My life, my choice." The Duggar fanbase erupted. Some accused Daniel of stealing Josie. Others claimed Josie was being rebellious. But many more praised her for breaking generational trauma and choosing love over control. Inside the Duggar home, Jim Bob held emergency meetings with church elders, trying to figure out how to correct the situation. He suggested counseling, annulment, and even temporary separation. But Josie refused to participate. Michelle tried a gentler approach, visiting Josie quietly without telling Jim Bob. She hugged her daughter and cried, begging her to come home, not because of rules, but because she missed her. Josie told her she wasn't gone. She was simply living her own life now. Josie's siblings slowly began visiting her too. Jana was the first to show up, offering groceries and a quiet smile. Jessa followed, torn between loyalty to her father and her love for Josie. Joanna broke down crying when she saw her little sister actually happy. Even Jedediah and Jeremiah, usually aligned with their father's viewpoints, admitted they admired her bravery. The turning point came when Josie collapsed one afternoon from exhaustion and dehydration. Daniel rushed her to the hospital. Terrified, she had fallen ill from the stress of the ongoing family conflict. When Michelle found out, she arrived at the hospital in tears, insisting she would stay by Josie's side. Jim Bob followed hours later, but stood outside the room, unsure how to face the daughter who no longer lived under his authority. Doctors reassured everyone that Josie was fine, just overwhelmed and mentally drained. It was a wake-up call for the whole family. No matter how angry anyone was, Josie's health mattered more than the rules she broke. In the days that followed, the Duggar siblings formed a protective circle around her. Even those who had disagreed with her choices refused to let the situation escalate into something dangerous. Josie slowly healed, physically and emotionally. She realized that despite everything, she still loved her family, but she loved her freedom too. By the time Josie returned home to her apartment, tensions had softened slightly. Jim Bob finally called, not to argue, but to ask if she was okay. It wasn't an apology, but it was a beginning. Josie accepted the olive branch, but remained firm. She wasn't undoing her marriage or returning to their rules. Daniel continued supporting her, never speaking badly about her family, never pushing her into more conflict. He stood by her quietly, proving to everyone that he wasn't trying to steal her away, just giving her the space to be who she wanted to be. Months passed, and slowly the Duggar family began adjusting to the new reality. Not everyone accepted it, but most learned to respect Josie's choice. The final moment that sealed everything came during a low-key family gathering, when Josie and Daniel showed up hand in hand. The room fell silent for a second, awkward, heavy, uncertain. Then Janice stepped forward and hugged Josie tightly. One by one, the siblings followed. Even Michelle gave Daniel a gentle smile. Jim Bob didn't rush toward them. Instead, he nodded stiffly, acknowledging the man his daughter married without his permission. It wasn't approval, but it wasn't rejection either. It was simply acceptance that the world had changed, and his children were changing with it. Josie understood that healing takes time, and not all wounds vanish overnight. But she also knew she had taken the hardest step of her life and survived. She found love, independence, and her voice. 3 things she never thought she would have. Her marriage wasn't just an act of defiance. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one not written by her parents, her community, or the expectations built around her since birth. It was written by Josie herself,